Oh, there we go. Good evening. Sorry about the delay there, just making sure the microphone was live. And welcome to this week's live news programme at 6 o'clock on Saturday evening. And of course, it's just as well it is live because the news is rapidly changing yet again today, which we'll touch on in a second. So in the news this week, the government have announced on Thursday that Dorset Council and Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole Council areas will remain in Tier 2. Several factors are considered when looking at the tier system, along with the headline infection rates. The government also looks at the infection rate in older people, the impact on the care sector and pressure on local hospitals, all of which continue to be a concern in both of our local council areas. The impact of the national lockdown in November was successful in driving down cases across both local authority areas, but with the move to the two-tier system, this downward trend has levelled off. Sam Crowe, who's the Director of Public Health for Dorset and Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole Council, said, "I understand that people feel frustrated and disappointed by this decision. Locally, we have seen the reduction in cases rates level off and plateau in recent days, and our hospital system remains under pressure. Tier 1 restrictions would not be enough to continue to bring our rates down, and we would risk having to go back into tougher measures. Most people have been doing a really good job in complying with the measures, and I'd urge everyone not to drop their guard and to keep social contact to a minimum, particularly over the 5 days of reduced restrictions over Christmas." Well, of course, this afternoon everything has changed. Firstly, with the introduction of a new fourth tier, and areas including London and the South East and Kent going into Tier 4, which is basically very similar to the previous national lockdown. And for everybody else in the country, the 5 days of mixing over Christmas has now been reduced to just 1 day, Christmas Day itself. And this is due to this mutation of the virus and the fact that it seems to be spreading much quicker than the previous virus, and something desperately needs to be done to stop this. This will obviously mean arrangements need to change for lots of people, and there'll be lots of disappointment, and particularly, as arrangements are being made for Christmas and are probably already in hand. But I think the most important thing is that we all stay safe this Christmas time so that we can all be together again next Christmas. Concerns have been raised that someone may have been trapped underneath a massive rockfall on the Jurassic coast. The significant landslip, which saw tons of rock crash down onto the sand and leaving other material hanging precariously from the cliff, occurred at Hive Beach, Burton Bradstock, on Thursday morning. It happened just yards from the site of another huge rockfall back in the summer. Authorities have said there was some concern as the beach was busy at the time of the rockfall, and there is a possibility that someone may have been hit by falling rocks. However, as yet, no one has been reported missing. People have been urged to stay away from the site as rangers check the area, and further rockfalls are possible and expected. Heavy rainfall has made the cliffs along the coast unstable, and further rockfalls can happen at any time. Geologists have previously warned that the Jurassic coast cliffs remain totally unpredictable. It's particularly important if you're going out walking over the Christmas and New Year period, which many people do, that you do stay away from any unstable cliffs. The rockfall at the Hive Beach happened at around 9:30 a.m. on Thursday morning, and it's approximately 100 yards west of the Hive Beach Cafe. Moving on to something different, electric vehicle owners will be pleased to hear that they will have more places to charge their cars or vans from early next year, with 44 new charging points coming to Dorset. Charging points will be ready to use in 18 Dorset Council-owned car parks from February 2021. The fast 22 kilowatt charge points using 100% renewable energy will enable drivers to charge their electric vehicles whilst visiting the county's towns. The fast charge points are well suited to town centre car parks for drivers who want a quick top-up. Vehicles can also be fully charged at the charge points. This normally takes between 2 and 4 hours from empty, depending on the vehicle's battery capacity. It's actually cheaper to charge an electric vehicle than refueling a petrol or diesel vehicle. To fully charge an example vehicle such as a Nissan Leaf would take less than 2 hours and cost approximately £12.50. Normal car parking charges still apply whilst vehicles are being charged. And just to let you know, the new sites that will be coming to our area in February include Governor's Lane Car Park, Lodmore Car Park, Melcombe Regis Car Park and the Swannery Car Park. And moving just further afield, Langton Road in Blandford Forum, Fairfield Longstay in Dorchester, Wollaston Field in Dorchester, Rempston Centre at Wareham and West Bay Road Car Park in West Bay. Work on the sites is planned to start in January 2021. The work will be done by SSE and Western Power Distributors. Looking ahead, there are future plans to replace the existing Dorset Council rapid charge stations in spring 2021 as well, which will see a further upgrade in Weymouth of the Harbourside charging facility. Dorset's Police and Crime Commissioner is asking members of the public to pay an extra £1.25 per month to enable the force to provide an enhanced service and recruit new officers. The proposed increase to the precept, that's the element of the monthly council tax bill that funds policing, will enable Dorset Police to deliver a balanced budget and pay for additional costs, some of which have been incurred as part of the coronavirus pandemic. If approved, the figure would see those living in a Band D property paying an extra £15 a year for policing in the county. Police and Crime Commissioner Martin Underhill said, "We have just been through a year like no other, and despite the very positive news about vacancies, the pandemic is far from over. Considering that we are in the midst of an ongoing crisis and the government are faced with arguably one of the biggest challenges since the Second World War, I have to be realistic about the state of the country's finances. The recent government spending review prioritised COVID-19, and so police and crime commissioners have been asked to raise their precept levels to help police forces balance the budgets. In the circumstances, I welcome the funding package given to Dorset Police, which provides some flexibility and will enable the force to continue recruiting more officers over the next year. Dorset Police is now predicted to recruit an additional 64 new police officers by the end of March. And this is over the target for the financial year as part of the government's 3-year uplift of force numbers. Also, Dorset Police have issued an appeal on behalf of the Dorset coroner, who is seeking the assistance of the public to find the next of kin of a woman who died in Dorchester. Betty Maynard, who was 95 years old, died at her home in Coburg Road on Tuesday the 8th of December 2020. Her death is not suspicious and no police investigation is needed into her death. Coroner's Officer Sharon Emerson said, "We are not treating the death as suspicious. However, we have not been able to locate her next of kin. If any member of the public has any knowledge of her family members, please contact us as soon as possible on 01202 454 767. Prized Thomas Hardy archives will return to Dorset after a successful fundraising campaign. Dorset Archives Trust launched a campaign in early December to raise the final £5,000 of a total £50,000 required to enable the purchase of the collection by the Dorset History Centre from a private dealer in London. And the funds were raised within days, meaning the collection of the famed author's manuscripts and documents can return to the county. The archives are now set to be displayed at the Dorset History Centre, where residents will be able to view them. A spokesman for DAT, the Dorset Archives Trust, said, "We are delighted to say that thanks to the generosity of the public, the sum was raised in rapid order in just a few days, and the Dorset History Centre, where the collection will be housed and made accessible, would like to thank everyone who supported this appeal." The collection consists of 46 separate elements, including Hardy's transcripts of the speech he delivered at the opening of Dorchester Grammar School in 1925. Letters from Hardy are also included, with one giving a clear expression of the author's interest in animal welfare. There's also a poem penned by Hardy about soldiers embarking on service in the Boer War, as well as books which once formed part of his library at Maxgate near Dorchester. We're almost at the end of the headlines now. An underground cable network is being upgraded in Weymouth as part of a multi-million-pound project to help HM Coast Guard save lives at sea. Work will see the old copper-based cables replaced with fibre-based technology across 165 radio sites throughout the UK, including Weymouth. The sites are used to receive distress calls from vessels in UK waters, and the replacement technology will bring improvements to the reliability and security of the system. And finally, lots of good work is going on at Christmas time to help local people who are less well off in Wyke Regis. Wyke Regis resident Becky Blake launched a new initiative called Love from Wyke. Residents are being asked to nominate individuals to receive a surprise gift, and local businesses are being called on to donate items to be handed out. It's good to see people supporting projects like this, and of course also our own St Edmunds Food Bank, which are right in the heart of our community and there to support others who may need some help at this difficult time. So that's the news headlines this week. Moving to our first story, in our headlines today we mentioned that new charging points are being installed locally so that those with electric cars can recharge them when out and about. I was surprised to hear this week that there's a strong demand for electric cars in the UK, and this means that the UK is fast accelerating towards the Prime Minister's 2030 ban on petrol and diesel vehicles. Of course, there's a massive need for infrastructure and generating capacity that will need to be rolled out to help the government achieve this goal. However, having heard the news, I thought it would be interesting to see where we are with the growth of electric cars in the UK. The latest information on sales of electric vehicles has revealed that British motorists may well be ready for wider electrification after all, well ahead of any ban on new petrol and diesel cars that will come into force in 2030. The research shows that over 75% of consumer inquiries in respect of electric vehicles from the last 12 months occurred between July and September this year. The research also highlights which regions represent the biggest hotspots for interest in electric vehicles, revealing Greater London as the electric vehicle hotspot capital of the UK, accounting for nearly 40% of all UK inquiries. The area around England's capital had nearly 4 times as much interest in electric vehicles than the east of England, which was the region with the next highest level of interest in electric vehicles, while Scotland rounded off the top 3. Motorists in Northern Ireland might need some more convincing ahead of the 23 petrol and diesel ban, coming last in the rankings for electric vehicle interest, well behind the East Midlands and Yorkshire and Humber in the bottom 3. So where did the South West come? Well, the South West came 7th on the list. Of course, you may not realise, but the first electric cars were produced in the 1880s. Compared to the internal combustion engine cars, electric cars are quieter, have no exhaust emissions and lower emissions overall. In the United States, as of 2020, the total cost of ownership of recent electric vehicles is cheaper than that of the equivalent internal combustion engine cars. This is due to lower fueling and maintenance costs. Charging an electric vehicle can be done at a variety of charging stations. These charging stations can be installed in both houses and, of course, in public areas and motorway service stations. Several countries have established government incentives for plug-in electric vehicles, such as tax credits, subsidies, and other non-monetary incentives. Several countries have also established a phase out of fossil fuel vehicles, and in California in the USA, which is one of the largest vehicle markets, it has an executive order to ban sales of all new diesel and petrol powered vehicles by 2035. Of course, our own ban has come in now at 2030. The Tesla Model 3, which has a maximum range of 353 miles, was the world's best-selling electric vehicle on an annual basis starting in 2018 and became the world's all-time best-selling electric car in early 2020. As of December 2019, the global stock of pure electric passenger cars totaled 4.8 million vehicles, representing two-thirds of all plug-in passenger cars in use. In 2019, over half, in fact 54%, of the world's all-electric car fleet was in China, believe it or not. Despite rapid growth, the global stock of pure electric and plug-in hybrid vehicles represents about only 1 in every 200 vehicles on the world's roads by the end of 2019, of which pure electrics comprised of 0.32%. But if we go all the way back to the start of the first electrical car, it was thought to have been built by the English inventor Thomas Parker in 1884, which I find really surprising, as you would have thought electric cars were a more recent development. But as we finish, let's take a look at Thomas Parker's car, built some 136 years ago.
And Thomas Parker was at the forefront of this eco-friendly technology, over 100 years before the term eco-friendly had even been invented.
And where did Thomas Parker build and test drive this momentous piece of world automotive history? Right here in Wolverhampton.
Born in Ironbridge in 1843, Parker spent most of his life in the Midlands, moving to Wolverhampton in 1882 to design and build dynamos. It was here that his vision for an electrically powered automobile took shape. To uncover the amazing story of Thomas Parker's ingenious vehicle, I'm off to Wolverhampton City Archives to meet up with local historian Bev Parker. No relation.
Bev, what do we know about Parker's car?
This is what we think his first car would have looked like. Quite a strange thing.
That looks like 3 men riding a giant pram.
Well, it does, but it was built like that for a purpose.
I mean, what are the components here? I can see, well, quite clearly a motor, then a large container at the back, which I guess must have been where the batteries were.
That's right. Yes, there would have been quite large batteries by modern standards. All of the components were designed by Tom Parker and made in the factory.
So every single part of the system to power his car, he designed himself.
He designed every single part, yes, yeah.
So he was innovating batteries, motors, and the vehicles themselves.
Yes, he was. He was really ahead of the game.
This must have been an amazing sight in Wolverhampton, seeing this trundling along the streets.
It must have been. It's very hard to appreciate what people must have thought of it. It was the only one, and they would never have seen one before, probably. Eventually, they might have got used to seeing it travelling daily to and from his work.
So Parker potentially could have been the world's first electric car commuter.
Yes, he used this as a form of transport every day.
That's amazing. Something we take for granted now, commuting to work in an automobile, he was pioneering that concept as well.
He was, yes. Oh, yes, he was.
Although others had experimented with electric cars, Parker's was the first truly practical version. He even designed a steam-powered generator to recharge it for his daily commute. Unfortunately, there are no remains of Parker's original cars for us to marvel at.
So there we go. That's the electric car, which actually was first developed 136 years ago, and how fantastic! Even with its own recharging system powered by steam. We always think that these electric cars are new, and obviously not. They actually go back a long way. And of course, the background video in the first part of that was Elon Musk's Tesla 3, which we mentioned in the report. Well, staying on the theme of cars, cars are something that we all rely on, or many of us rely on day in, day out, to get us around, to get us to work, to get us to the shops, etc. One of the things that I really struggle with, and I always have done since I started driving, is parking a car in a small space. I wonder if you suffer with the same problem. But moreover, I wondered if you have discovered it's getting more difficult to park our cars. And that when you finally get parked, it's difficult to get out of the car and have enough space to open the door and to squeeze out. Have you thought that as much as I have? I've certainly thought that in recent years. Well, believe it or not, it's not your fault. Modern cars have grown in size and grown so big that many drivers have as little as 21 centimetres of room spare in an average parking space to get out. I thought it'd be worth looking at the problem and also how to park our cars properly. A recent study has found that the country's most popular cars are as much as 55% larger than they were in the 70s, while the standard parking space has not grown at all. The recommended 2.4 metres by 4.8 metre parking bay leaves drivers little room to get out of their park. That they scrape the cars each year trying to park in cramped spaces. The biggest grower is the mini hatch, which is now 55% bigger and takes up to 22% more of a parking space than the original did back in 1959. The Honda Civic of today is 1.8 metres wide, an increase in 44%. It now takes up nearly 3/4 of a standard parking bay. Car gurus who carried out research has urged authorities to update the guidelines for parking bays, as the current size has not changed for 50 years. In the most extreme example, the research found that today's Land Rover takes up 86% of the standard parking space, leaving just 21 centimetres of room for drivers to get out. In contrast, the 1970s model took up just 69%, the same footprint as today's Ford Focus. The research compared the most popular cars currently on UK roads, which had an equivalent available in the 1970s, showing how their footprint on the typical parking bay has grown. All cars have grown. Many of the most popular vehicles are leaving little space for drivers to get out. For example, the 10th generation Honda Civic, one of the biggest growers from its first generation, now takes up 71% of the parking space, ballooning from 49% in the first generation and leaving just 30 centimetres of space for drivers to get out. Chris Knappman, editor at cargurus.co.uk, said it's understandable why cars have grown so much over the years, and the dramatically improved safety standards of modern cars versus those of years gone by is an obvious benefit. However, as many motorists will no doubt confirm, it's disappointing that parking space guidelines haven't been updated accordingly. The mini hatch was the biggest grower in the list, 55%, and taking up to 20% more of the typical parking space than the original that was produced between 1959 and 2000. This means it offers 16 centimetres less room for drivers to get out. Chris Knappman says many of the latest cars are at least available with technology to help with parking, including parking sensors, reversing cameras, 360 degrees view cameras, and automatic parallel and bay parking facilities. Some even equip cars with features to help prevent car park damage, such as door edge protectors and Citroen's air bump technology. However, it is of course worth noting that no matter how easy the technology makes it to park, if the space is too small for your car, none of it will help you to physically squeeze out of the driver's seat. I don't know about you, but I never really was very successful, as I should have been, at parallel parking. And as cars are getting bigger and there are more on the road, being able to park efficiently and effectively becomes more important and more difficult. I thought therefore we'd just finish up with looking at a video from the AA, just reminding us how to parallel park properly.
Parallel park. To parallel park, that's the kind close to the curb between two other cars, draw up just ahead of the car in front of the space you want to park in. Select reverse gear as soon as possible so that your reverse lights are illuminated and everyone knows what you want to do, and observe everything that's around you. Allow traffic to pass before you start. Look through the rear window and reverse slowly. When the back of your car is level with the car next to you, turn the wheel to the left and check your right blind spot. Turn so you're at a 45-degree angle as you head into the centre of the space. Don't rush or turn too fast. Keep looking around you. Then, when the front of your car is clear of the one in front, turn the wheel to the right. When you're parallel to the curb, straighten the steering wheel and you're parked.
There you go. Parallel parking, something I've never really got to grips with. And it's amazing now that cars are available, that you can actually drive down the road and press a button and it will find a space that you can fit into and it will reverse you automatically into that space. Isn't it amazing what technology can do? But it's still not dealt with the issue that when we get into those car parking spaces, it's a real squeeze to get out. So hopefully our local authorities will look and will make our parking spaces bigger so that they can accommodate the bigger cars. Our next story this evening takes on the theme of Christmas. Christmas is fast approaching. We're now only 6 days away. And you'll be aware in recent weeks we have covered things like Christmas trees and Christmas cards and when we started using them and why. We've also looked at things like mistletoe and earlier on in the year things like the ivy that goes with holly and ivy. This week, with just a few days to go to Christmas, Janet Hall has been looking at the Christmas Carol.
Hello. I'm pretty sure that even in these restricted times, you will not get through the next week without singing a carol or two. Sadly, you won't be able to go carol singing from house to house, which is a shame because it's an old tradition with its origins in medieval times, when watches, including musicians, patrolled England's towns to keep order. However, carol singing, like so many Christmas customs, really came into its own in Victorian times. This was when Christmas became a holiday that families could enjoy and celebrate with music in the home. It would become tradition to sing carols after the Christmas meal. The first carol service is believed to have been held at Truro Cathedral in Cornwall in 1880. It was organised by Edward White Benson, the first Bishop of Truro, who later became Archbishop of Canterbury. A separate tradition of wassailing also existed as far back as Anglo-Saxon times. The word wassail probably comes from the Old Norse fast hail, meaning be well and in good health, and it was a toast. The Protestant Oliver Cromwell had played a key role in all this by banning Christmas carols between the period 1647 and 1660. The church-going public collaborated in a desperate attempt to save these traditional songs by going from door to door and performing them outside people's houses. By the Victorian period, wassailers were carolling groups who went round the town and would be rewarded with a hot, spiced, often cider-based drink known as wassail. Nowadays, carol singers are more likely to be found in town squares, shopping centres and visiting hospitals and old people's homes. And rather than waiting to be rewarded with a cup of wassail, modern carolers are likely to ask for donations for a charity. That said, a glass of mulled wine is often very welcome. It has become quite a tradition to end your carol singing with the traditional English carol, "We Wish You a Merry Christmas." The first line, "We wish you a Merry Christmas," is the traditional greeting. But the lines, "Bring us some figgy pudding," and "We won't go until we get some," refer to the treats that the carolers were often rewarded with as payment for singing, and the fact that they would continue singing until they were rewarded. I know Gary will tell you lots of opportunities available to you to sing carols next week. But for now, it just remains for us to say, we wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
We wish you a Merry Christmas.
We wish you a Merry Christmas.
We wish you a Merry Christmas
and a Happy New Year. Good tidings we bring to you and your kin.
We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
We wish you a Merry Christmas
and a Happy New Year.
Good tidings we bring to you and your King.
We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
We all want some figgy pudding, we all want some figgy pudding.
We all like some figgy pudding, so bring some out here.
Good tidings we bring to you and your kin.
We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Now bring us some figgy pudding, now bring us some figgy pudding, now bring us some figgy pudding and bring some out here.
Good tidings we bring to you and your King.
We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
We won't go until we get some. We won't go until we get some. We won't go until we've got some. So bring some out here.
Good tidings we bring to you and your kin.
We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and
a Happy New Year. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. It's Christmas!
Well, hopefully you got the message there. We wish you a happy Christmas, and thank you to Janet, and thank you to all those who contributed to that recording for Janet's article this week. Hopefully you got the message about Christmas is coming, and we wish you a happy Christmas. Our final main article tonight goes back to the story of the pandemic and the coronavirus, and I'd planned this before today's announcements. Local vaccination services run by the GPs have started this week in Dorset as the NHS nationally continues to phase in the rollout of the COVID-19 vaccine to priority groups. GPs and other primary care staff have been working round the clock and throughout the weekend and the week to deliver this part of the rollout. The latest stage is being delivered by GP-led primary care networks, with more joining on a phased basis during December and the coming months. Vaccinations are being delivered from Tuesday last week by an initial wave of 6 primary care sites locally, serving the much wider communities, with more starting up as soon as possible. The COVID-19 vaccine is being rolled out nationally to people most at risk, and you'll remember that they're starting with people aged over 80, as well as those working in care homes and vulnerable NHS staff themselves. Basically they're following something called the Joint Committee of Vaccination and Immunisations strategy as to who should be vaccinated first. So the important thing is the NHS will contact people in the priority groups when it's their turn to receive the vaccine. So please do not turn up to your local doctor's practice or to the local hospital. In fact, in Weymouth, it's the immunisation hub is working out of Weymouth Community Hospital, but you mustn't go there unless you've been requested to attend. As our final article tonight, I thought we would hear from Professor Jonathan Van Tam about what a vaccine actually is. Also hearing from a local care worker who's had their vaccination this week, and getting the latest advice from the NHS about what we should and shouldn't be doing over the Christmas period.
So a vaccine is a medicine, but it's a medicine that is used to prevent things happening rather than treating things when they have happened. And a vaccine essentially prevents a human being from getting a serious and avoidable infectious disease, and that's really important. On top of that, if you think about kind of public health interventions the world over, the most important is clean, safe drinking water. After that, the thing that saved most lives across the globe are vaccines.
I'm a care worker at Culliford House Residential Home. When the vaccine, I said as soon as the vaccines were available, yes, first in the queue if need to be. We've got to protect everybody.
Vaccination.
Thank
You're
you.
going to do it into your left arm, up nice and high, okay.
We've been very lucky. We've not had any problems with COVID. We're very good with the infection control. Our boss is very good at getting everything in. Soon I'm sort of sometimes being a couple of steps ahead of everybody, making sure that we're aware of what's happening. We've been well looked after. You've got COVID, you've got a vaccine. What do you want? Do you want COVID or do you want the vaccine? And you can't moan that where's a vaccine, and as soon as it comes, you don't do anything about it. My mum's attitude always was, if it's free and it's an injection to stop something, have it. And that's what I've done all my life. As soon as anything's come, we've been stood up, needle in the arm, that's it. So, and if you don't vaccinate people, it's not going to go away.
Hi, I'm Nam. I'm a GP and the clinical lead for the NHS website. I'm here to give you the latest NHS information and advice about coronavirus, COVID-19, as we approach the holiday season. Coronavirus vaccine. A coronavirus vaccine developed by Pfizer-BioNTech has been approved for use in the UK. The vaccine has met strict standards of safety, quality and effectiveness set out by the Independent Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, MHRA. Other vaccines are being developed. They will only be available on the NHS once they've been thoroughly tested to make sure they are safe and effective. The NHS will let you know when it's your turn to have the vaccine. It's important not to contact the NHS for vaccination before then. Updated information will always be shared on our website. To keep up to date, visit nhs.uk/COVID vaccine. Please continue to observe the following guidance and advice. Main symptoms. The main symptoms of coronavirus are a high temperature, a new continuous cough, or a loss or change to your sense of taste or smell. Most people with coronavirus have at least one of these symptoms. If you have any of the main symptoms of coronavirus, get a test as soon as possible. You and anyone you live with should stay at home and not have visitors until you get your test result. Only leave your home to get a test. Anyone in your support bubble should also stay at home if you've been in close contact with them since your symptoms started, or during the 48 hours before they started. Get a free NHS test to check if you have coronavirus. Find out who can have the test and how to get one by visiting gov.uk/get-coronavirus-test. Please continue to wash your hands with soap and water often for at least 20 seconds. You can use hand sanitizer gel if soap and water are not available. Wear a face covering when required to do so, and maintain social distancing guidance. Use the NHS 111 online coronavirus service if you're worried about your symptoms, or if you're not sure what to do. Visit the NHS website for up-to-date information. The new NHS COVID-19 app is now available to download in England and Wales. Thank you, and happy holidays.
So there we go. So we now look towards the week or so ahead. And firstly, we'll have the national weather forecast from the Met Office. Here is the weekend forecast from the Met Office. Generally sunny spells, blustery showers and hail and thunder. Bands of blustery showers will push eastwards across the UK. The showers will be heaviest in the south and west, and some hail and thunder. Another mild day, especially in the south and east. Temperatures a little down on Friday. Further blustery showers overnight, still heaviest in the south and west. Some central and eastern parts may stay mostly dry with clearer spells. A little colder than last night for most, temperatures dropping to low single figures in sheltered spots. Sunshine and showers again on Sunday, still heaviest in the west, more persistent rain pushing into the southwest later. Temperatures down a little compared to Saturday, blustery with gales in northern and northwestern parts. That's the run-up to the weekend weather. Further wind and rain, turning more settled and temperatures dropping as we approach Christmas. And certainly looking at the local weather now, we're going to continue to have it wet and unsettled with some sunny spells until Thursday. And then from Friday onwards, it's going to get drier and much colder. And both the daytime and nighttime temperatures will be dropping rapidly. And we will see minus temperatures overnight and early morning frosts. I'm sure, actually, having had the day we've had today and the torrential rain spells that have come across several times today, that actually some fresher, drier, colder winter weather will actually suit some of us for a while. I've certainly had enough of the rain here. Looking at traffic and travel, work continues on the Weymouth Harbour side with the removal of the tram lines. Work will also soon start, as I mentioned last week, on the south side of the harbour on Nose Parade, and we'll see it close for vehicular access in February for a few weeks. And roadworks continue around the western area where Southern Gas networks are undertaking works, although in most instances this should not cause disruption to traffic. And obviously the work is ongoing on Old Castle Road to deal with the subsidence there and the falling away of the road. On the trains, there are bus replacement services at various points on both services from Weymouth, South Western trains and also Great Western trains. And there are also reduced and rescheduled timetables this weekend. Looking towards what's on, in this part of the programme in recent weeks, I've been looking at movie releases that are out. And this week I'd like to look at Roald Dahl's The Witches, recently released by Warner Brothers on many streaming services. It was originally due for release through theatres in the end of October, but has now been released on many forms of media. It's from Oscar-winning director Robert Zemeckis, who did Forrest Gump, and comes the fantasy adventure Roald Dahl's The Witches. The film stars Oscar winners Anne Hathaway from Les Miserables and Ocean's 8, and Octavia Spencer from The Help and The Shape of Water, and Oscar nominee Stanley Tucci from The Hunger Games and The Lovely Bones, with Christine Chenoweth, TV's Glee, and BoJack Horseman, and award-winning comedy legend Chris Rock. Reimagining Dahl's beloved story for a modern audience, Zemek's visually innovative film tells the darkly humorous and heartwarming tale of a young orphaned boy known as Bruno, who in the late 1967 goes to live with his loving Grandma Spencer in the rural Alabama town of Demolopolis. As the boy and his grandmother encounter some deceptively glamorous but thoroughly diabolical witches, she wisely whisks our young hero away to an opulent seaside resort. Regrettably, they arrive at precisely the same time that the world's grand high witch, Hathaway, has gathered her fellow cronies from around the globe, undercover to carry her nefarious plans. Based on the book by Roald Dahl, the screenplay is by Robert Zemeckis and Kenya Barris, and Oscar winner Guillermo del Toro. God, that's a long word to say. Roald Dahl's The Witches is rated PG in the UK, and it's available now.
My story begins when I was a young boy.
You'll be comfy here in your mama's old room. I'd do anything for her to be here right now.
Grandma was a tough lady with a big heart. And little by little, she brought me out of my sadness.
Now if you feel that you can't go on, darling,
I didn't know it, but there was a dark shadow looming nearby. Witches. They're real, and they hate children.
Welcome.
What would you do if there were mice running all around the hotel?
I would call the exterminator.
You see, girls? He would exterminate those brats.
Rats. We would exterminate the rats.
I feared this was happening. Then here, that means a test is coming.
Ladies, I have a plan. Sandra will transform a child into a mouse.
Whoa! Why are we mouses?
Mice?
Whatever!
Grandma, it's me!
Is that you, boy? We'll never let you get away with your filthy, evil plot. Who's gonna stop me? Doesn't matter who you are or what you look like, so long as somebody loves you.
You wouldn't happen to be carrying around a mouse on your person, now would you?
A mouse?
Mm-hmm.
Why on earth would I be carrying around a mouse?
There we go, that's Roald Dahl's The Witches, rated PG and now available in the UK. What else we got coming in the run-up to Christmas? Well, of course, we've still got the pantomime underway at Weymouth Pavilion, running to the 3rd of January, and you can pop along to their website at www.weymouthpavilion.com for more information, or you can ring the box office for tickets. I'm not sure whether this event is still going to be running after the announcement tonight, but the Royal Albert Hall were daily having carol concerts and were streaming them as well, and you can join them by live stream. I suggest if you're interested in that, you go along to the royalalberthall.com website and have a look. I didn't have a chance to check that before the programme started tonight. In our own area, of course, Christmas is coming up, and on Christmas Eve there will be a midnight mass at All Saints Church at 11:30 and a Christmas morning service at St Edmunds at 10 a.m. Now, the thing to note is both of these services will be ticket-only services. That doesn't mean that people are being stopped from attending, but because of the COVID-19 precautions, the numbers have to be restricted to 55 at All Saints Church and 25 at St Edmunds, so only those that pre-book tickets and know that they have a seat are able to attend, and those tickets can be booked through the church website at www.parishofwhitecreases.org.uk. The midnight mass service will also be live streamed for those that wish to join from their own home. There will also be a live stream service at 9:30 a.m. on Christmas morning. That will be a short service of about 20 minutes for those that would like to mark Christmas Day that way before they get on with any family celebrations. Of course, tomorrow, the last Sunday before Christmas, there is traditionally the service of 9 lessons and carols, and this will happen at 6 p.m. tomorrow, Sunday the 21st of December, and again this will be live streamed through this channel that you're on now and all the usual social media channels for the parish of White Regis. And finally, on Christmas Eve at 4 p.m, when we normally have the balloon service where the church is absolutely packed with 300 odd people, young families and young children, there will be a live streamed version of the balloon service and nativity this year, for the same reason that obviously we can't fit those sort of numbers into any of the church buildings. Of course, later tonight is our quiz at 7:30, which is open to anybody to join us, and we'll make you most welcome if you want to join us. And finally, to say, our community-wide event, Carols on Your Doorstep White Regis, is on Monday night at 7 p.m. There are details on www.whiteregis.com where you can print off a carol sheet, and also is the link to join the live stream. And it is live stream. We will be broadcasting live a small socially distanced choir and a small socially distanced brass band, and the idea is at 7 o'clock you can print off the carol sheet, you can come out onto your doorsteps together with all your neighbours and people across White Regis, Weymouth and beyond, and to sing carols safely, where if we get together we will be unable to sing at the current time. Now, finally, to say before we finish, next Saturday there will be no live programme. It will be Boxing Day and we're going to have a day off, but we will be back the following week, and we hope that you will join us then. So I'm going to leave you tonight with our little advert for Carols on Your Doorstep White Regis, which I hope you will join on Monday night with us. If I don't speak to you or see you again before Christmas, I hope you all have a very, very happy Christmas, although appreciating it will be somewhat different this year.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. And the world we wanted, all tidings we bring to you one more year. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a happy.
On Monday the 21st of December at 7 p.m, the organisers of Carols Around the Christmas Tree in White Square, All Saints Church White Regis and Weymouth Concert Brass are coming together to organise Carols on Your Doorstep White Regis. Whether you're in White Regis, elsewhere in Weymouth and Portland or further afield, you'll be very welcome to join in. On the evening, a small socially distanced choir and band who will play live in All Saints Church, and we will live stream the carols out to you so you can receive them on your computer, laptop, pad device or mobile phone. To join in with Carols on Your Doorstep White Regis, you can go to our website at www.whiteregis.com, where you can print off a carol sheet. You can also print off a poster display in your window or somewhere else people will see it. Also on the website is an invite that you can print to put through your neighbour's door or to send to friends or family. We really do want to get as many people from the community involved singing from their doorstep this Christmas, so that the carols can be heard throughout the streets across our communities. So please do share this with your neighbours, friends and family wherever they are. As well as the website at www.whiteregis.com, we have set up a Facebook page called Carols on Your Doorstep White Regis. Why not go to the page now and like and share it? We hope you will join us for Carols on Your Doorstep White Regis on Monday the 21st of December at 7 p.m, and we can all together celebrate the joy of Christmas.